to WRPB Studios. You know, everything changes constantly, and I remember back in the day when you needed something notarized, because I was in real estate, you'd have to go and find someone to do it and whatever. Well, sitting next to me is Daryl D. Lucas,
Yeah,
and you are a notary.
correct.
But you're not just a notary. I don't have to come to you. You go to me?
Correct.
Okay. You also are a remote notary. Is that what it's called? What's it called?
So I'm a remote online notary.
What does that mean?
So what that means is I'm signed up with the state, commissioned with the state to notarize documents nationwide remotely using state-approved platforms. So as long as you have some type of smartphone, laptop, or tablet, and decent internet service preferably,
Right.
we can notarize you almost anywhere, as long as I'm legally in the state of Florida.
Okay, so you have to kind of make me understand a little bit better.
Okay.
So when I go to get something notarized, it gets a stamp.
Correct.
So can you like remotely stamp something? That would be my first question.
Yeah. So with the platforms that I use, we have their system allows us to create our stamp and our seal that states that this document, Wayne, was notarized remotely online using audiovisual technology in case something was to happen and gets requested for court proceedings, or just your real estate agent, title agent, whoever wants to see how everything was done.
Interesting. The next thing I have is on all, I guess, things that be notarized, you have the proof of who the person is.
Correct.
So how do they have to email you a driver's license or?
No. So with the platform, that actually also gets taken care of. So there's two different ways our client can get verified, which is through KBA or knowledge-based authentication, which is ran through your social security number. So it'll ask you questions in regards to vehicles you've owned, properties you've lived at, sometimes your occupation. The other one that is a little bit more commonly used sometimes for our foreigners is what we call biometrics. So you would upload a picture of your driver's license or your passport, and they'll have you do a scan of your face to match your facial recognition to what's on our ID. If something was to come back and state that you had failed, I get alerted automatically, and I can ask you to retake the process. At that time, if you do fail again, we most likely would not be able to proceed with closing just because we can't verify who you say you are.
Technology is pretty amazing.
It is.
And I'm in the tech space, as you see here in the studio. But, okay, so those are the two things that I kind of remember in notary. What else do you have to deal? I mean, there's a course that you have to take?
Correct. So just to become a licensed notary, you do take a 3 to 4 hour course that most anybody can take to learn how to do general notary work, which is essentially just stamping the documents, verifying everything looks legit. So the other courses I took was another 2 hour course, which allowed me to become a remote online notary, as well as I took a course through the NNA to become a loan signing agent.
All right. What's a loan signing agent?
So how you were talking about real estate, that allows me to actually work with real estate agents, title agents, so that way I can help clients who are in process of selling their home, buying a home, thinking about taking out a home equity line of credit, refinancing their home. To that extent, as well as I can meet with building contractors that start with notices of commencements.
So that it kind of expands the area that you can work with.
Correct.
It's interesting because those are changes that have happened in your industry fairly recently, I would think.
Yeah, so most people who do need anything notarized can usually go to their local bank, can go to
Right.
UPS, or know somebody in their line of work that is a notary. However, as modern age has gotten a little bit more advanced, some places actually won't notarize those documents anymore, just because they aren't protected or they legally can't because there are third-party interests into that document.
So I guess a bank would be not a remote notary. I guess they just want you to come into the branch.
Right. So a bank most likely wouldn't have a remote online notary. They would want you to come physically to the branch. Whether or not they can notarize that document depends on who's all involved. So if it's the bank that's involved, most likely they will. If it's something that conflicts their interest, they'll inform you at that time they can't because it's a third-party interest.
All right. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
who can you not notarize?
who I cannot notarize.
Right.
Somebody who cannot provide valid ID.
Okay.
Somebody that is involved in the transaction or has a third-party transaction. So if you were needed something notarized for your wife, and you wanted to act as a witness, I cannot allow you to act as a witness because you are her husband
Okay.
and you have interest in it. Relative, anybody usually under the age of 18 cannot act as a witness as well.
You also, if I'm correct, you can't notarize. So you can't notarize a document for yourself,
Correct. We cannot legally notarize a document for ourselves.
and you can't notarize it for a spouse,
No.
a cousin,
Nope.
brother,
Nope.
a pet.
Nope. I mean, a pet, I would wish we could, but I would still think that's family considered.
Sometimes treated better than family.
Yes, that is true. I agree
All
with
right.
you.
So, what do you think? First of all, why did you get into this?
So I actually got into becoming a notary through my main job with the state. The state needed a notary. They said, hey, is this something that would interest you? We'll cover, your fees to get licensed and everything. I was like, yeah, why not? I'll look into it. Did a little bit more research and found out that not only is there just a need for a notary in my line of work, but there's actually alternate avenues that you could take to do besides just this simple basic notary work that you would see at like a bank or UPS. So I was like, all right, let me do a little bit more researching and jumped into it and learned like, oh wow, like there's different avenues you can get into general notary work, apostilles, loan signing agents, doing fingerprinting, and so many different avenues in that business that
So you
can get
mentioned
into.
fingerprinting. I guess that's a separate course and stuff.
So I don't believe there's an actual course, but I know a few colleagues who do fingerprinting. Is something I haven't dabbled into myself yet. As well as in some states, I know one is Florida. Notaries can actually officiate weddings
Oh, I heard that.
and solemnize marriages. So I don't do that myself.
I'm a minister, so I can do a wedding,
Correct.
but I would want to.
No, I've seen it. I don't mind going to your wedding, but
Right.
don't ask me to solemnize it.
I don't blame you.
I could recommend somebody for you.
So you get into this, and you get into it because of your job,
Correct.
but you see that there's other streams of income, and I believe that the government regulates how much you can charge.
Correct. So in the state of Florida, we can charge $10 per stamp.
But if you have to travel, you can charge for travel expenses.
We can, correct. So, but that's something that you would want to consider, have in writing or, have an agreement on with your client, because you don't want to overcharge a client for you coming out. It is a convenience fee, yes, but at the same time, I try to be fair with my clients because I understand, it could be something that's a last minute. They could already be stressed because the process is taking a little bit too long in regards to them selling their house, buying their house. So many different factors that can factor into a notarization.
So, all right, for you, how far would you drive to get to notarize something?
So I go as far as Saint Lucie County as well as Martin County. I am open to going out to Indian River and Okeechobee if need be. But if I cannot have you leave your house and I can just meet with you remotely, it's a convenience for both of us.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so let's say it's a 4-page document.
Okay.
Does every page have to have a stamp?
Not necessarily.
But if they did, you would have to charge. You can charge $10 each
$10
time you
per stamp.
punch that stamp.
Yes, sir.
$10. What about witnesses?
So witnesses, I typically charge $25 for a witness. Usually I don't try to get somebody as a witness. If I can get a family friend of my own or somebody who's in my industry to come out with me who possibly might need further training or just wants to see like, hey, I've never done one of these yet. Would you mind kind of letting me see you and shadow you? I'll tag them along so they can kind of gain experience as well.
So is the charge for witnesses regulated by the government too?
No. So that's something that is in the industry. That standard is usually 25. Usually, if we don't cover it, it'll be covered by the title company or what we call a signing service. They would compensate us as notaries the 25 that we would delegate to our witness partner.
Interesting. Most people don't understand that there's so many pieces to it, and even the pieces that you have, there are pieces over and above what you have that you can get into. We just talked about fingerprinting.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm going to guess that means bringing an extra machine to take your fingerprints and stuff.
Yes.
That just would be a kind of a thought that you just can't do it through your head. And again, if you need something notarized, you really got to think about the parts, meaning most things that you notarize need a witness?
So in the state of Florida now, yes, with signed deeds, before you would need 2 witnesses. So the law actually changed earlier this year where you still do need 2 witnesses, but to protect you as a client and protect everybody involved, the witnesses are actually now required to provide a local address. That way, if anything was to happen that caused it to get flagged.
So you can find that person.
Correct. In case something happened in court or anything like that.
Does everything require 2 witnesses, or just real
Not
estate?
not everything. Usually, most documents, if it needs a witness, is 1. But most the quitclaim deeds, warranty deeds are always gonna need 2. So as a notary, I can act as 1.
Oh, you can.
Correct.
So you can notarize and act as a witness.
Correct.
Okay. So if the page only needs 1 witness, you can be that witness.
Correct. So I would be acting as the witness, witnessing you signing, as well as acting as a notary.
Okay. Rule of thumb, and correct me if I'm wrong. If you need something notarized, don't sign it until you get there.
Correct.
Okay.
Don't ever sign your document without being in front of the notary, or in certain cases, if it's a document that's getting recorded in the courts, in front of your clerk of court. Because if you do sign in front of it, it's a boo-boo. We can fix it, but it's preferred you just wait till you meet with us.
We're getting a tougher time. How do people find you? I know that I found you on Facebook, which is pretty simple. They can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, so Facebook.com, Lucas Notary Services, or on Instagram at Lucas Notary Services LLC.
And you have a phone number.
Yeah.
Would probably be the
So
easiest way to get you immediately.
yeah, to get me immediately, best way to contact me is call or text 772-529-4848.
Was it difficult to get 4848, or did it just come up?
No, it came up when I was looking to get a number, and I was like, hey, simple, quick enough.
48, yeah, I get that. You know, it's interesting, and I don't want to add more people into your industry, but I think it's a pretty interesting industry, and I'm thinking with technology that industry is growing.
It definitely is. So I think in the near future, coming now, we're gonna still need mobile notaries for sure. But now that remote online verifications are getting a little bit more seen and titles starting to accept it, and it's getting a little bit more accepted globally, it's going to be more of a need for remote online notarizations.
Everybody, I always say use a professional. Well, in this case, you have no choice but to use a professional, okay? And I think that you're not only licensed, but you're bonded.
Correct.
Because, and if I remember hearing people say, in the process, that takes the longest to get approved. You're bonding. Once you take your course and stuff, and you pass the test, you got to go to a bonding company, I guess, right?
Yeah, so depending on who you go through to get it, it could be done through that same agency. Myself, I went through one agency that covers up to, I want to say it was only 100,000. But when I started looking into it more and I wanted to have a little bit more coverage, I went through a different company that's offering me $1 million coverage.
It's interesting. Everybody, check them out. Daryl, thank you so much for coming in.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.